All right, so let's start out with law of sines. Just review the formula again, because I'm not going to give it to you on Friday's unit test. A over the sine of A is in the same ratio as B over the sine of B. Lowercase a and lowercase b, those are two sides of a triangle. Capital A and capital B are the two angles. When is it the best time to use? You're doing a problem and you're saying to yourself, because this is the point you're going to get to today. You're saying to yourself, oh, geez, should I use law of sines or law of cosines here? What's the best one? Well, let me try to help you here right now. How many angles do you need to plug in to use law of sines, just based on the formula? You need two, right? So there's your answer. If you really want to use law of sines, you need two angles. If you have anything less than two, it's not going to happen. Law of sines, I showed that to you yesterday. It's not going to happen. All right, so you need at least two angles. All right, law of cosines, I showed you yesterday. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. All right, when's the best time to use law of cosines? Well, first is you have all three sides. All three sides are given. Or two sides and the included angle. The angle in between. Almost like think side, angle, side. That's a good way of thinking about it. Two sides and the included angle. And I'll even write that in between. And the included angle. Again, think side, angle, side. So it really depends on how many angles you have. That's what it all depends on, guys. How many angles am I starting out in the problem with? Should I use law of sines or law of cosines? All right. So what you're going to do for me today in the notes, last day of the unit, before we review tomorrow, you have 4 problems. Each problem involves triangle ABC, but each one I gave you different information. And you guys are going to go through and you're going to, all right, how do I start this? All right, I'm not there helping you now. How do I start this? Should I use law of sines and law of cosines? And then go from there. Can you do me one favor before I let you go? On number 1, can you please change angle A to angle C as 72? All right, I forgot to change that as I was doing the notes this year. Change angle A to angle C on problem number 1. I am going to leave my answers up here on the board for you guys to look at as you're doing them. One thing I will warn you about, if you are a degree off, any problem that involves finding an angle, if you are 1 degree off, that's okay. All right, and the reason is sometimes people like say, I use 5.4 to find 45 degrees. Maybe you use your full calculator display instead, and maybe you got 44 degrees instead. That's fine. So if your angle measures are off by 1 degree only, not any more, not any less, off by 1 degree, that's okay. All right, but it's off. If it's off by more, we gotta figure out where you went wrong. So that's it. You guys are on your own today. Okay, I'm going to leave these answers right up here. If you're off by a degree on the angle measurements, that's okay. Please have the confidence to reach out to me if you're having any trouble.
Just with law of cosines, you put the angle, like, if you're using law of cosines to
Yep.
find a side, you would put that side is going to be the first.
Whatever, yep. So if I gave you angle C is 72, the side across from it, you're going to start law of cosines out with. Yep. Please make sure you know what law you're using. If you're using law of sines, make sure you hit that sine button. If you're using law of cosines, make sure you hit the cosine button. So a good opportunity to practice right now. Please call me over if you have any questions. Or just unmute your mic. Please don't raise your hand online, please. Just open up your mic and say, hey, I got a question here.
Could you flip back to the other slide you were doing just a second ago? Thank you.
You got it. I'll get back to the screen in a second, guys. I just got to stop recording.